C'est bon? On y va? Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome. Do you hear me well? Yes? Okay, good. So thanks and welcome to this talk. So we're going to speak now, we're going to carry on the discussion about biomethane, and we're going to highlight how digital and technology can enable the growth of biomethane in Europe. My name is Florian, and I'm here with Jacques-Arthur. We are both part of the CGI consultancy firm. And I'm going to highlight with you the first part of our talk, and I'm going to share with you our view on the value chain of biomethane and highlight on very specific spots how digital can enable the growth on this market. And then Jacques-Arthur, vas-y.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Ouais, vas-y.
Hello everyone, so my name is Jacques-Arthur de Saint-Germain. I'm there with two caps. The first one is I'm director at CGI Business Consulting. And the second one is I launched my startup in Crossroads, the biogas and digital sectors a few years ago. And I would like to share with you some key insights on this point of view.
Okay. So what we are sharing today is based on the knowledge we had through many interviews over the past years. Thanks also to our various projects we are handling for our clients. You will find all the details about what we are sharing in the white book that you will have at the end of the session. It will be provided to all of you, the one who wants this white book. And if you have any questions, please ask anytime. Bear with us. We are in France. Most of our projects are handled and conducted in France. So if sometime we have a bit of a bias due to the French market, please bear with me. But we are trying mostly to have a European view on what we can share. Okay? So, quick word on CGI. CGI is a consultancy agency worldwide, 40 years old, approx. And our specificity is that we are structured by sector. And we have a dedicated sector on energy, of which Jacques-Arthur and myself are part. And we enable our clients on their transformation end-to-end, from consultancy to outsourcing. So, this is the view of a sum up of the biomethane value chain. That you can see on the right of the screen. It's starting from sourcing. So by sourcing we mean the capacity to get the right input for the producers. Producers can be any kind of producers, but let's say by default most of the producers can be farmers. So that's the first step of the value chain. So it's getting the biomethane farm the right entrance, and then you have the production site and injections. That's about changing the input into biomethane, and we'll talk about then injections. So here our focus is about biomethane that would be injected in the network. So you may know that there are various types of biomethane, but here we're going to focus about injection in the network. So it's very much the transition about what the previous talk was about. The third step is about grid management. So here we are talking about all the DSO companies that manage the pressure into the networks to make sure that it has the right balance between the production and the consumption. And finally, we'll talk about gas supply. So gas supply is at the very end of the chain. It's about the suppliers providing the energy to the final client. So this is to present the value chain. Our strong belief at CGI, and based on our experience, is that there are three key priorities that digital can enable to support the growth of biomethane and to enable the reduce of costs on the sector, which is critical to support the growth. First is access to information. 2, it's about money. 3, it's about anticipation. And now I'm going to highlight 4 examples to illustrate why and how can technology, digital support these 3 key priorities. First, access to information. Here I'm going to highlight at the beginning of the value chain. So we are talking here about, I'm giving you an example, a new producer who would like to step in on the market. So let's say a farmer, he's starting from scratch. Of course, he has some very strong knowledge about his core activity, so farming. Of course, he heard about biomethane around him, but how we can enable him to accelerate and speed up the creation of his biomethane farm. There, we strongly believe that as an example of digital enabler, providing or accelerating digital platform, knowledge platform to share information across the market from the producer to the investor to the, all the builders, the infrastructure, to enable them to get to build on all the best practices thanks to the pioneers, I would say. So the first example of how to accelerate and reduce costs, accelerate biomethane and reduce costs would be to develop a market share, knowledge market share. Saying that this market share can be very high, very general information, but it can be also very deep level information. Let's say a farmer want to get some deep knowledge about how to use his crop waste for biomethane. Of course, he knows very well his farmer job, but how can he learn very fast of how to use his crop waste into the biomethane process? So from a biological perspective, physical perspective, technological perspective. So let's say that this platform, technological platform, will enable him to learn very quick. So that would be my first example. My second one about having access to the right information is about opening the eyes to a farmer. Let's say a farmer has a very good understanding about what he can produce himself with his own input, but we know that in biomethane field, the variety of input, having input all across the year is critical for the income of the producers. So let's say that by opening the eyes through a right tool, so that the farmer can not only understand very well his proper input, but also all the inputs available in his area, geographical area, so that he knows what is available. I would say even in real time, what kind of input can be available in his geographical area, so that he can have a variety of input for his production. There are some very interesting startups, such as INEX, ENIA, for example, that can collect all this data and provide in a single and simple dashboard for the producer. So that would be my 2 first examples to highlight how to provide the right access to information. And I've focused especially on the farmers, so on the producer side. Let's continue on the producer side. I'll move to the second point, money. Money, as in every project, is key. In biomethane, we know the cost of settling up a farm requires some substantial money. Of course, there are the traditional banks, investors. The producer has to bring on the table some own funds, but sometimes the cost is too high for him. So what we recommend is to accelerate the development of alternative solutions, funding solutions. So the crowdfunding is now very popular, but that's a way to support farm producers to have access to the right level of investment to support the creation of their farm. So that's a third example of how digital can support the growth of biomethanes and also by reducing costs. My last example is about anticipation. Anticipation is key, and I will highlight also how data is critical for anticipation. And here I will highlight on the grid management. The grid management is about, I will simplify, so bear with me with all the specialists. I will pretty much simplify the way a network is working, but you know it's about the balance between, I've said, it's about the balance between the production and the consumption, and getting all the time the right balance. We know that biomethane is creating a revolution in the way the grid is handled, because for many reasons. My point is that by getting technology here capable of anticipating by, thanks to deep learning, to artificial intelligence, anticipating all the production across a territory and nationally, by anticipating all the pattern of consumption over the year, it enables both the distribution system operators and the producers to anticipate the right moment to inject the biogas into the network. If at some point there is not enough space in the pipes, either the big pipes or the small pipes, if there is not enough space, the producer cannot inject the gas, the biomethane into the grid. And that could be a loss of money for the producers. But by anticipating through technology the level of demand on the grid, if a producer, thanks to the technology and discussion with the operator, can anticipate what to do with the gas, he can also storage. It has been shared before about storage. Store the gas, either move the gas to another location. We've mentioned the reverse flow, but it could be also done through the roads, by trucks, or it can be used for another use, which is the power for engine, for cars. So you may know that you can have petrol for car, electricity, but gas, natural gas can be used also for vehicle, trucks, cars, and so on. So through intelligence, by anticipating the demand, having also an end-to-end dashboard which highlights what are the pump station, the petrol station available in the area. There are some interesting startups such as DC Brain, capable of deep learning and artificial intelligence, but also ENIA, capable of gathering all the data to anticipate what to do, how to leverage properly the gas to support the demand. So that would be 4 examples that I highlighted to support what we think are 3 priorities about access to information, money, and anticipation, and how digital can reduce cost. With that, I will let Jacques-Arthur carry on the discussion, and he will share his knowledge on the sector.
Yes, thank you. And I think you can find all the details in our white book, and you can bring it with you at the end of the session. This is maybe 30 pages, not that long. So hello everyone. So my name is Jacques-Arthur de Saint-Germain. I usually have 2 caps. I'm a director at CGI, and I founded my own company. It's a startup at Crossroads, the digital and the biogas sectors. And I have some strong beliefs, and I will try to tell the same story, but from a different standpoint now. I'd like to explain you how we see digital in biogas when we are an actor of the value chain. So 3 beliefs for you. First one, biogas, it's not a new market, but if you want to go in biogas, it's now. Biogas, it's a renewable market, which mostly will follow the same path in terms of maturity growth than we saw for solar or wind markets. Meaning, you have the government, which will inject massively a lot of money, a lot of subsidies to developers of biomethane projects. And this will make the sector decrease the costs, increase the productivity, and then gain in maturity. So that's exactly the mechanism of energy transition in France, for example. Another point is in the French PPE, so the French regulatory plan for energy, we see that we have approximately an increase by 20 of the volume of methane that will be of gas that will be produced for the next 4 or 5 years. In the worst scenario, meaning it could be more than that. But you see that when you increase by 20 volume of production, you can have a lot of opportunities. So that's why, in terms of startup, in terms of small companies, but also for big companies, we heard the GRDF just before, there's a lot of opportunities, a lot to do. And that's why, and that's the starting point when you are a startup. You want to know what is the market. So there's a market. There is a big market. And we see that the market is not only French. More than 2.6 billion for 2025. So in the next years globally, and this is only the beginning. So what do we see? We have different actors. We have different actors in the value chain of biogas. These actors all have their own problem, then their own concerns. If you take the biogas plants, so the producers, their problem is how can I increase my production? If you take the farmers, agriculture, which are the providers of organic waste, for example, which is the products that will be used to do methane, their question is how can I value my sub-products? Okay, I'm producing some corn, I have sub-products of corn, and I can do something with that. And maybe I could have some more money at the end of the month. You have the builders of plants. Their question is how can I make the plant of tomorrow, of the future? How can I design the future plants? How can I bring more value to my clients tomorrow? Maybe by bringing IT, maybe by bringing AI, maybe by bringing more services. They don't know exactly how to do that. And I could take a lot of other examples. You can see them here. The investors and banks, they are mostly their problem is how can I reduce the risk of the project I'm financing? Maybe by securing the sourcing, for example. So all these actors have their own questions, and all these actors try to improve these questions alone, in silos. And what we could bring, and what digital could bring, digital and artificial intelligence could bring to this model, if we can go to the next slide, thank you. It's two things, three, let's say. One, breaking the silos. You break the silos, meaning you connect people. You make people discuss, and you give information from people to people. If I take the example of the producer, he's working at 85% of his capacity. He says, oh, I'd like to go to 100%. Why not? Because I don't have the information of where is my sourcing. So if on the other side you have this information, you know which farmer has what sub-products in which quantity and when, this information could interest the producer. So you can see that by making a digital connection, maybe a marketplace, you can connect people and you can bring value to the actors of the value chain. So how do you concretely bring value? First, you gather data, you collect data. Data is not always collected because we are in a very natural job, agriculture. You don't collect data of agriculture. But maybe with artificial intelligence, with neuronal science, with data science, you can collect this data. You can take pictures of the ground and you can just imagine, okay, the color of the ground of the field changed. So maybe you did something in terms of culture. Maybe you will have some waste in the future. Maybe we could buy it and bring it to someone else. So artificial intelligence could help, and you have a lot of possibilities with digital. So you gather data, then you enrich this data, meaning most of the time you cross the different sets of data. When you know that you have, for example, a production evolution of your plants, and when you cross it with the meteo, for example, the meteo, which is an external source of data, you can just make intelligence on that. You can just say, okay, when there's this kind of meteo, not too much water, but not too. We have the best way to produce energy with biogas. And then, data, you can use it for you when you are a producer. You can use it to make your production smarter, to make your production more productive. Or you can sell it, you can monetize it if you are, for example, a big actor who wants to help to support the sector. Okay. So at the end of this example, so that was one example, and we can see a lot of other ones. But one point, digital, AI, and biogas are two emerging businesses. AI, we know it, it's quite complex. But biogas is very complex too. And most of the time, people who are experts in one are not in the second area. So when you have a challenge, crossroads the two areas, you need most of the time a support, and that's where consulting firms take place. And that's where they bring some value. Thank you for your attention.